All right. So here's the question that I got for you. You're one of the few people that I know and trust that's ridden a Gilson snowboard. Now they've got that
The
video.
Gilson.
They got that video, so much butter and shit all over Facebook. They're dumping serious money into promoting that. You know, they've reached out to me and I basically told them to fucking pound sand. I've looked at the boards over the years. They weren't even at SIA this year, but I've looked at the boards over the years and they look like shit. I mean, they seriously look like they were built in someone's garage. I mean, every year they get a little bit better mentally, but like, you've ridden them.
I have.
You did a video for them.
I did. I was one of the original, adverts for the Gilson kind of demo reel, and they gave the boy a couple boards to try out. I think I rode it in the springtime in the slush. The friend of mine who got me the Nintendo gig, actually.
Okay.
Originally, he'd always been feeding me work, and he was like, "We got this company. It's called Gilson. They want you to shoot some shots on the board." I said, "Shoot, whatever, no problem." I was riding for a different snowboard company at that point, and they wanted to have like a rider try them out. And I'll tell you what, I thought it ripped. It worked pretty darn well. I wasn't like, oh, let me dump my entire quiver and just ride these now. But I will say that I had a blast on these things, and I did all the tricks I know on it, which isn't a ton. But I rode it in the slush. I rode it in the slush, and I had a lot of fun on it. The Gilson technology is tipped up edges. It's almost like triple base technology, but it has this recess. Right?
Yeah, they call it a soft edge. So the base sticks down, and then you got a couple millimeter rise, and then your actual edge is there, so it can leverage it over. The problem is when you build something like that and you press it, there's a lot of room for error in the board and how it's built. On top of the fact, they openly, if you question them on this, will admit that you cannot stone grind that base if you get a core shot along the edge that rips into it. And so when you see that, and that's my issue with it, I go, for an average consumer, they're like, well, you can hand finish that board. Who the fuck knows how to hand finish? Okay, we live in Breckenridge. There's 2 shops in this town that I would maybe trust to do that. That's Pup's Glide Shop and Racer's Edge. But you take that to like a Breck Sports, a Christie's Sports, or something like that, or just any chain store, they're going to look at that and go, I don't know how to tune it. It's a lot like when you go to get your edge done with a magnet traction board, they're like, oh, I don't know how to put that through the belt. I'm like, it's not that hard. You just move it with it. But
that is the thing. I mean, it is a new technology idea. And, I like that they're thinking outside of the box and working on it. And it really does work well for somebody learning, because it's kind of like,
it's like
I don't want to call it training wheels,
well,
but
it's like the LTR boards that are just beveled up, and that's what it is. So you get that propeller effect. Like if you take the board and spin it on the ground, it's not going to hook. You're raising the contact points up, and I understand that. And anytime you raise a contact point up on a snowboard, your board is actually going to be a little faster because you're reducing that drag of the edge. It's just like if you ride a reverse camber or flat or anything like that can raise the contact point. It's incrementally faster, and I've discovered this over the years, but you sacrifice certain things. Now, my thing is when you look at how aggressive theirs actually is, like, did you notice when you were putting it on edge, you had to go a little further to grip?
Right. It moves a little bit slower when you initiate it, right, because the edge is beveled up. So when it does tip over, it moves a little slower, and then when it does initiate, it really does rip. It is probably what surfing feels like, if I knew what that was like.
Wait, you're from Hawaii.
Yeah, right. It definitely, I tried to ride it because they wanted to see, like, oh, this won't hook an edge on a log.
Did it?
And I rode it through a lot of logs, and it performed. But, I mean, I did hook an edge on it. I was trying to front board something, I remember. And we were kind of testing how far we could take it. And it sure did hook. It wasn't, like, impossible to hook.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the whole thing. They make these bullshit claims. And I'm like, no, man, I've looked at that. And the thing is, I've ridden enough 3D bases over the years. Like, I mean, I've ridden Echelon, Battalion, Marhar's got one now. There's so many companies. Burton has had it with their center scoop, tip scoop.
The backyard and those early things, were the back hills were beveled.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not a new technology, and they keep claiming it. And I can't remember who told me, but someone said that Dynastar had it on their skis back in the late 70s or something, where it was like a slightly thing, and it didn't take off. I don't know if that's true or not because I haven't bothered to dig around and see if the patents are there. Sure. But, you know, the whole thing is like they just turn me off. And then every time that I've dealt with them at SIA, I mean, I swear to God, the dude is mining for nose gold or something, just like Tony Montana. And I mean, he's just sitting there like snorting. And I'm like, yo, dude, eyes are fucking, you know, he looks like anime. And I'm just like, God, man, he's been talking to me and shit. But whatever, that's not a judgment.
A mad scientist.
Yeah. Well,
you know, and that's the thing about it, though. I mean, Winterstick, other people, they got clowned right away. And they are just testing the limits of tech or recycling tech or trying to think of a new way.
Well, you know, what's old is new now. Right, you look at it in snowboarding, but the construction methods have done it. My other issue with that brand is just it's an American-made brand.
Yep.
You know, and American-made boards, they have a certain feel to them. You can see there's certain limitations that they have. Their finish is usually rougher. They use more epoxy. They don't have, like 90% of American-made companies don't understand how to do a shiny top sheet, like a gloss top sheet or anything, because they don't have a curtain lacquer machine. Mm-hmm. So you look at it, and you know, it's every time that I've ever picked one up and looked at it, I'm like, God, it looks like shit. it's the only way it looks like something from the 90s. And I mean, my brother worked in a factory in the 90s, so I know what shit like that looks like. And it's just one of those things where, you know, it is what it is.
It is what it is. And certain tech gets a lot of love, certain tech gets thrown back, and you know, just treat it like not like a traditional snowboard and be like, hey, this is something that works in a different way. And I think for, you know, somebody learning, it would help in not catching an edge, but it has some limitations where like you might slip out a little bit more.
Here's the big question. Mm-hmm. Should I give him an invite to the product review series?
Ooh, I guess you don't know till you go, and that was one of the reasons why I stepped out. Man, I'll ride anything out there, so it was cool to. I used to ride so many broken boards and different boards, and like it was cool to ride this thing. It felt almost like a balls out black snow.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Like it had power, but it felt almost like the plastic snowboard.
That's kind of sad.
But it's kind of cool too. It's like this weird.
Well, it changes the dynamic of how you're going to ride, obviously.
Right. It changes the dynamic of how you're going to ride. It was almost like I was like skimboarding around or something, you know, like.
Yeah. Well, I bet you that thing was probably really good if you went pond skimming.
Pond skimming probably worked awesome, and I did jump it off the Park Lane big jumps.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. How'd that feel? It wasn't like.
It was good, but I did. I mean, I landed some. I crashed some. I jibbed some things. I fell, and it was a snowboard. It is a snowboard.
It's a snowboard.
It is a snowboard.
But I mean, at the end of the day, though, that's where you leave it. I mean, I've ridden thousands of boards, and when anyone asks me about a mediocre snowboard, they're like, "What is this?" Like, it's a snowboard. It'll do snowboard things, and that's pretty much where I leave it. And I'm like, this thing kind of. It doesn't suck, but it's not great. It's just it's there, and it's mediocre. And in a time when we have so many SKUs out there and so many snowboards and so many brands, we don't need mediocrity. We need stuff that sticks out, you know? It's either be really nichey or be so over the top that it kills, you know?
No, Gilson sticks out. Their edges stick out.
No, they stick up. Well, no, according to them, their boards don't break, and then people will post photos of them snapped in half. But whatever. I love trolling them, and as sadistic as that is, like they're just one of those companies I just love to troll every time they make a bullshit claim. I just go out of my way. So, anyways, Zach's ridden a Gilson. I haven't, but there you have it from the mouth of someone.
I have ridden a Gilson.
You've ridden a Gilson.
I have ridden a Gilson, and I did a trick or two.
All right.